And welcome back, everyone, to Who Would Win. Today's Who Would Win comes to us from Turn Up Todd, who asks the question, who do I think wins in a fight? The Scarlet Witch, Wanda Maximoff, versus Darksied. Now, should be noted that Scarlet Witch is or Wanda Maximoff is no longer just the Scarlet Witch. In fact, she's technically not the Scarlet Witch anymore in the comics. I'm watching a person I enjoy watching review some of the more updated comics of the Storm story, and apparently Wanda's actually now the Sorceress Supreme. Doctor Strange is technically not the Sorcerer Supreme right now. I think he's stuck in Asgard or something like that. No, Wanda's actually the Sorcerer Supreme. So I guess we do have to factor that in when doing this fight, but we'll look at Wanda mostly as a Scarlet Witch. But that being said, if people want me to talk more about Wanda as the Sorcerer Supreme, just when you give the suggestion, ask for Wanda as the Sorcerer Supreme, not Wanda as Scarlet Witch. With that being said, though, this is tricky because this is hacks versus hacks, power versus power, diversity versus just the indomitable presence of a concept. Because Darkseid, as we know, is the god of tyranny. He literally is the new god of tyranny. He is tyranny incarnate. He can't die in the traditional way. If he dies, there is actually a vacuum in reality, multiverse, all that, of tyranny. He's literally the embodiment of it because of the Omega effect and falling into and having the Omega Force and the Omega Sanction. So unless you're willing to have something else represent that, you can't permanently kill Darkseid, not in the traditional way. Beyond that, the Darkseid you see 9 times out of 10 in comics isn't, or actually probably more like 95 times out of 100, isn't the real Darkseid. It's an avatar with his consciousness essence in it. But it's an avatar that he creates to interact with the universe due to the fact that his real body exists in a different dimension and is so large that just existing would destroy the universe. So Darkseid already is a nuts character in that sense, but then you go into the powers he has. The Omega effect gives him abilities of the Omega beams, which obviously are the omnidirectional tracking beams he fires out, which can do multiple things, including incinerate, or either incinerate, disintegrate, existence erasure, if I'm not mistaken, just be concussive energy blasts. They can also activate the Omega Sanction, which can literally transport you in time, as I believe it was described at one point when I was reading something, a living time bomb of destruction, because you're going to start living out more and more realities that are going to, or basically an infinite amount of realities where you will end up dying each time, and each death's going to be worse and worse and worse. I think when it happened to Mr. Miracle, if I'm not mistaken, his first death involved him becoming a drug addict, alcoholic, losing everyone, getting in an accident, and eventually like being lynched or something like that. And that was his first life. So it just went downhill from there. So yeah, that is bogus. That's insanely nuts. He also has powers over. He's not like a sorcerer or anything, but he does know magic. He has telepathy. He has telekinesis. He has matter manipulation. He has insane physicality, capable of going toe to toe with Superman of all people. And he can, in fact, he's one of the only characters who can regularly smack Superman around and beat him in a raw fist fight. He's a master tactician, a skilled hand-to-hand combatant, and just one of the most dangerous characters in DC. And honestly, with everything that's happened in DC in modern years, he probably doesn't even rank now in the top 10 of strongest characters when you really break everything down. Should also note, he is the Fist. If I'm not mistaken, I believe he's described as the Fist of crap. There are beings like this, the Presence, who is essentially the one above all of DC. He's the god. The Darkseid. What was it? What was the term he was given? There are like several Darkseid, Fist of the. Okay, let's try Fist of the Gods. Hold on. Not first of the gods. Darkseid is not typically described as the first god. Okay, well, that's Fist of. What was it? A Fist of. Okay, hold on. I want to look this up real quick. I hate doing something like this, but hold on. Okay, Darksied. What is he the fist of? It's like a being not as strong as the presence per se. It might be the presence, to be fair. It was during one of I think the Darkest Night storylines, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see here. Let's see. Aliases. Dark God. Left Hand of the Great. That's what it was. Left Hand of the Great. And he's also considered the fist of it. And there's another being who's the right hand, who literally looks like a hand with his head like just open. So he's he's almost in essence like a fundamental force in the universe. Scarlet Witch is the sorcerer supreme, but the Scarlet Witch, Wanda Maximoff, she is a mutant, but she is more than that. She is a natural magician. Her main abilities revolved around probability, manipulation, hex magic, all that. Basically affecting the chances something could happen. Those were her basic abilities originally. But as time went on, it was revealed just how powerful she really is. She's a nexus being, meaning in all of creations and all the multiverse of Marvel, she exists simultaneously at the same time in every one of those universes. She is literally a being so powerful she can rewrite reality with a whisper if she's going full out. It's like, no more mutants. Well, no more mutants. She can literally deconstruct and rewrite reality. She goes beyond multiversal. She goes to, I think it's like omniversal or something like that. She goes into disgusting levels of power. As a trained sorceress, in which she is skilled in God knows how many forms of magic. And obviously becoming Sorcerer Supreme means she'd have even more access to magic and spell books and all that. She's durable enough to take some very powerful shots, but therein lies at least one of her weaknesses. She is still just human. She's not, mutant, as human as a mutant is, which is still pretty human. Despite what Magneto will probably tell you. She still basically has the durability of a human. So hypothetically, if you could get a sneak attack on her, you could kill her. Like straight out, you could kill her. Now, she had survived things like, I think it was like a bullet that was designed to kill a god. She survived that, but it wasn't a lethal blow, to be fair. She's also has not been the most mentally stable in comic history, but it does seem like she is much more mentally stable in the modern era right now. She's nuts. So, okay. Who do I think would win in a confrontation with these two? Darkseid maybe tries to conquer the Marvel universe. He's succeeding, and then Wanda steps up to confront him. That's a very basic scenario. If we're just going by fisticuffs are off power, and remember, Wanda's never going to go. No, almost no character's going all out from the get. Wanda would try a numerous amount of spells, but Darkseid's Omega Sanction or Omega Effect would most likely be able to offset a lot of the lower level spells she'd use. She, on the other hand, she could augment herself, sure, but the level of augmenting she'd have to do to confront and deal with Darkseid is kind of nuts, to be frank. Like on a raw physical scale, he would annihilate her with a single punch. This is a character that, even though Wanda can do a lot of stuff with magic, even now probably resurrect herself if she had to, he just had to do that and kill her. He could do that. But that would involve him getting close enough to do that. And I think she is skilled enough to keep him at bay. But the question is, can she handle the Omega beams? Can she handle anything of the Omega effect? And that is essentially a type of energy, a conceptual energy that does not exist within the Marvel universe. Now, she has certainly manipulated fundamental forces before. She's certainly manipulated other magical beings before. So it's not out of the realm of possibility to think that she could manipulate the Omega effects, or the effect of the energy, I should say. But it's very up for debate but that's still an up for debate question, because that's a type of power, a type of energy that, again, just doesn't exist in Marvel. So she has, as best as I can tell, no real, what's the best word I'm looking for? She has no real frame of reference for something like that. So, he would just fire God knows how many things into Omega beams. Now, energy can block it. She has the energy to block it, but because they can move independently, he can basically just affect their trajectory. there's a real scenario where he fires off Omega Beams, for God knows how long. He's smart enough to strategize to make them disappear, thinking she's won. And then later in the fight, as time goes on, and she maybe starts to pull the edge out, an Omega Beam comes in and just hits her and Omega sanctions her. That is a real possibility. Now, that said, however, if these guys start going serious on each other, I am now leaning towards Wanda on the raw cosmic power scale. Wanda goes into straight omniversal territory. Like, she goes beyond the multiverse in terms of her power. Darkseid, for all of his power, doesn't go that far. He definitely goes into multiversal power. And Superman, who can scale even higher than multiversal, he can go toe-to-toe with him. But when Superman starts getting serious, he usually does win against Darkseid. But granted, he needs to get an amp too, usually, all that. But still, he usually does beat Darkseid when it's all said and done. That is wherein lies the problem, I think, for Darkseid in this fight. Is that once she's going full all out, he loses a lot of advantages to take her down. Especially because she can just go into another dimension, go into his dimension. And at that point, she's still a being far more powerful enough to do something to him. But she's also smart enough to probably sense that if I kill you, something bad's going to happen. There's going to be a vacancy in reality. So I'm just going to seal you away. So I see that being a very likely outcome at the end of things. Scarlet Witch, I think, just hold on, let's just find out where we can kind of put his scaling. And this, by the way, isn't even getting into her natural abilities of probability manipulation either. Because with probability manipulation on her side, a lot of his stuff wouldn't work as well. Scaling feats, or just scaling. Okay, where does he generally scale? What seems to be the high bar for Darkseid? Let's find out. Multiversal, easy. Like, he could definitely stands in the multiversal category, no doubt about it. So his highest outputs exist in the sphere of gods, an archetypal and platonic world as a living idea, with all evil in the multiverse consolidated into him and a focal point. This is an outerversal feat. Okay, so at his best, at his strongest, he does get into a level of power that's considered outerversal, which I believe is the next, which I do believe is the scaling beyond multi, if I'm not mistaken. So what about Wanda's feats? Scarlet Witch. Let's see here now. Not Scarlet King, Scarlet Witch. Scarlet Witch scaling. Where are some of her highest feats, roughly? Let's see here. Because honestly, I think that's really what's going to come down to. This is the scaling about where their power ultimately lies. Mind you, that could still be okay. Outerversal. They both hit outerversal basically. And Wanda, though, can hit outerversal plus. So even a little bit beyond whatever there. I think it would probably be hyperversal after that. Again, I don't know the actual terminology for like the versals, beyond versal, beyond, say, outer/omni. And even then, that's debatable where those lie. Either way, they both scale in that category, which means Wanda should and would be a character that could actually end. Conversely, though, because of that level of power, if she is hit with the Omega anything, it would affect her. So, who do I got in that case? I think it could end up being a draw depending on how it goes. Because again, I could totally see a stray Omega Beam coming back her way, or him tricking and getting the best of her and having it just hit her. But, given her knowledge and raw power in terms of just general what she can do, I think I would still lean towards Wanda in this fight. But this would actually be a pretty close fight. I think there's just as many arguments to allow Darkseid to win, especially, again, with a stray Omega Beam, doing the Omega Sanction. Now, here's a good question. Because of her existence across time and space, I don't know if he could actually erase her existence. I don't think that would work. But again, they're both equal. They're roughly the same in stats in terms of like their scaling. So maybe you could erase her. But even so, even if he realizes I can't erase you either, so I'm going to send you away. And perhaps earn the Omega Sanction. The problem immediately with doing that is she could break out of the Omega Sanction. She literally has the power to break and shatter reality. If she starts putting her through the effects of the Omega Sanction and she just starts dying and living worse and worse lives, worse than what she's already been through, oh, she's going to shatter that Omega Sanction. 1000%. She's going to shatter it. So I don't see the Omega Sanction being a good way of beating her. So actually, in that case, even though I don't know if he could fully like incinerate her or disintegrate her or erase her existence, I think he could still win. Certainly, it would just take a lot of effort on his part. I think there are still more scenarios that work in her favor, though, just because of the nature of her powers. So I'm going to lean towards the Scarlet Witch. But this would be, hell, this would be a death battle worth watching. That's for certain. Anyway, though, let me know what you think. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.